the African swine flu that they found over in creeping into Vietnam now.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been making a point. The reason why we've been sort of bearish hogs here for a while is that we felt Chinese consumers would start moving away from tainted pork, chicken, and beef as they are concerned about feeding their families, even though authorities say that there's not a problem with eating ASF contaminated meat. By psychologically, nobody really wants to eat meat that is infected. And so yesterday we saw a news story that a leading frozen pork dumpling company found African swine fever, or they found it in frozen produce on the shelves in the stores in China, that forced them to recall this product, which was a really, really deal, and it really forces the idea that consumers are really going to be not trusting anything that they see at their stores until this whole African swine fever situation calms down within China. And so we will limit down multiple contracts with the idea that demand is not going to be coming in for U.S. pork as early as expected. And then we saw the flip side where cattle prices took off with the idea that Chinese consumers would panic buy into chicken and beef. So this is a big story that we probably play quite a while longer before it might calm down a little bit. So we think this is a big trade that began yesterday that we've been kind of warning about for quite some time.
Okay, so talk about that a little bit, and where do you see how long do you think the overall effect for beef is going to be, and is that demand going to go into early spring, where you see the beginning of the summer normal?
Yeah, I mean, we think that the situation with substitution demand for beef heading into our strong summer demand season, not to mention the very, very difficult wet continue to have for the winter season that we think will continue well into the end of April, suggests to us that cattle prices can remain extremely firm and actually continue to rise well into late spring, even into or some kind of a top or some kind of a market that prices all that bullish factor in. So we think that the legs on the cattle market could continue for quite some time before we run out of gas.
Okay. All right. So now we are in a bit of a bitter time frame here as far as weather goes. You're fortunate enough you live in Florida where it's going to be balmy and 86 degrees today, and where I'm at, it's definitely not going to be 86 degrees today. So let's talk about weather right now. We start looking at, here we are, guys are pulling out planters out of the shed, and they're getting stuff ready to go, and they're starting to take a look at some very either exceptional amounts of snow around the areas, or just a lot of rain that they've had all the way through, the southern corn belt into the delta, and east and west of that as well. So that's got to start playing into the mind of some traders and kind of what you see happening. So talk about that a little bit and what you see happening there.
We're expecting another very challenging spring. We think the winter, like last year, is going to end very late. We think it'll be late April, early May before winter really comes to an end. And there's going to be a lot of moisture, a lot of snow, a lot of disruption. And of course, when it comes to planting corn, you need ground temperatures to be above a certain amount in order for the seeds to germinate. I mean, we just see all kinds of planting problems developing, and we think the market will begin to react to that weather threat or those weather concerns as we move into the middle part of March. We think, given another couple of weeks, given more models forecasting that can continue, we think it'll start bullishly impacting the markets as they try to gauge what's going to happen, what's going to get planted, how long it's going to take, and what the potential yield is come from this kind of a challenging planting season. So it's a big story that we think is just getting started.
Right. Okay, so when do you start thinking the market's going to start weighing in on the weather side of it? Farmers are worried about it. We've talked about that with other guests on here, and we've talked about kind of their view, what they see happen, but yet the market hasn't played any of that. Are they still waiting to see? We've got a potential weather thing, but the China situation is more something they're paying attention to. That's kind of really driving the way they're going to trade on the market?
Yeah, right now the market's really not interested in trading weather just yet. It's really still focused on, are we going to have a deal? Are we not going to have a deal? What's the deal going to look like? And how long is it going to take to have a deal? We're still caught up in all of that. But we think once we move into mid-March, no matter what happens with trade, the weather will take more of a center stage role in driving the market price. But for now, we think the market still feels that it's a couple of weeks before they're going to get too concerned about that. And while that's the case, they're going to still be focused on these meetings later this week and kind of getting a feel for, is this going to happen or not? But we think, to answer your question, mid-March, we think the market reacts to weather one way or the other.
Right on, right on. Well, a lot of stuff going on here, Shawn. As usual, if folks want to reach out to you, pick your brain, ask you a question, or maybe just get some overall advice about how to move things forward, how would they do that?
The best thing to do is to go to our website at Hackett, Hackett, advisors.com. With lots of information, white papers, sample reports, better description of our services and how we may be able to help them kind of navigate through this this very uncertain time.
All right. Well, Shawn, take care of yourself. Till next week. We'll talk to you then, bud.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.